After looking at the historical record for choice anecdotes and arguments on this topic, we now turn to the science of rat guillotines, head transplants, and brainwaves to give us an answer. To dive into the science here, we first need to look at the biology of death. What happens when a body dies, and how can we classify it? You might be surprised to know that the answer depends on whether you were asking before or after 1968. Before that year, death in most hospitals was defined as a cessation of all vital functions, including respiration and a heartbeat, sometimes called the heart and lung definition. As the technological ability to keep a patient's heart and lungs going advanced, determining who was alive became much more medically murky. It wasn't until 1968 when an ad hoc committee at Harvard Medical School developed the so-called Harvard criteria that brain death was introduced into commonly used hospital definitions of death. In an attempt to further unify the inpatient death definition in 1981, the newly formed President's Commission for the Study of Ethical Problems in Medicine and Biomedical and Behavioral Research, PCSEPMBBR as it's referred to by no one on this planet, recommended that all states adopt a Uniform Determination of Death Act, UDDA for short. The UDDA asserted that an individual who has sustained either irreversible cessation of circulatory and respiratory functions, or irreversible cessation of all functions of the entire brain, including the brain stem, is dead. A determination of death must be made in accordance with accepted medical standards. The Act aspired to add this new total brain death statute in addition to the boilerplate heart and lung definition to all 50 states' laws with mixed success. I'd give it a B- for effort. In a rare insight into the process of death, an article from February of 2022 reported the results of an EEG recording from a dying human brain. They noted a surprising amount of coordinated brainwave activity, even after blood flow to the brain stopped. According to the report, after cardiac arrest, the relative amount of gamma power increased compared to the interictor interval, while a reduction of delta, beta, alpha was identified. Cross-frequency coupling revealed strong modulation of the low and broad gamma power by the alpha band. They speculate that cross-coupling between alpha and gamma activity is involved in cognitive processes and memory recall in the healthy subjects. It is intriguing to speculate that such activity could support a last recall of life that may take place in the near-death state. Upon reading this, I thought that this could be what people call their life flashing by in near-death experiences. It could simply be the cross-coupling of between alpha and gamma activity involved in cognitive process and memory recall going crazy supporting the last call to life. The uniqueness of the moment of death was shown in a 2017 study where 4 patients had EEG recordings as their life support was turned off. For all 4, brainwave activity continued briefly after death, but for one, this activity persisted nearly 10 minutes later. What does this all mean? Potentially that at the moment of death, the brain can manage to coordinate activity for a burst of memory, that cessation of blood flow isn't enough to stop cellular processes, and that death is potentially a unique experience for each person. However, these are rare insights into terminal and injured people. What do we know about animal consciousness after death, specifically decapitation? A 2011 study was actually allowed to guillotine 2 groups of rats, one set awake and another under anesthesia, and the EEG results compared. They conclude that the rats lose consciousness and sensory perception after around 3 seconds, in accordance with other studies. Interestingly, the brain doesn't perform the death wave until around a minute after decapitation. While this isn't expected to be reflective of consciousness, it does show that brain death takes some time after the blood stops flowing. So if we accept that consciousness is lost quickly after decapitation, what about the possibility of reviving a head sometime afterwards? A 2019 study took a pig's head 4 hours after death and attempted to revive brain function by infusing it with a special hemoglobin-based mixture. The researchers were able to restore brain metabolism, prevent cell death, maintain macro and microcirculating architecture, and increase immune activity. However, despite this, they could not detect any higher order neurological activity. No signs of perception, awareness, or consciousness. Over the 1960s and 70s, neurosurgeon Robert J. White attempted a number of head transplants, including from a rhesus monkey who remarkably survived several days and showed basic sensory perception. The Chinese surgeon Xiaoping Ren was able to transplant mouse heads successfully for up to 6 months in one case. With the surgical development of a remarkable compound called polyethylene glycol, helping nerve endings refuse together, even after traumatic rupture, the stage was set for human heads. In 2015, Ren and an Italian surgeon Sergio Canavero began collaborating on human head transplants. In 2017, Canavero announced his intention to perform the surgery. To date, this has not happened. Despite much criticism of the project both medically and ethically, it's likely that attempts will be made to complete a transplant, continuing the question which plagued those at the steps to the guillotine. Are they still alive? What can they feel, and could we bring them back? Ultimately, the body can forgo oxygen and continue to produce ATP, albeit inefficiently, for up to 30 seconds, which possibly gives credence to the testimony of Dr. Gabriel Barriot in the video earlier. Whether or not decapitation leads to instant unconsciousness is up for debate, and the jury definitely is still not out on that as far as I can tell, at least from the information in this video. Anyways, thanks for something. Leave your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments below as I'm dying to read them. Bye everybody!
You think I want to look at that? You think I want to look at that? You think I like that?